Good afternoon, everyone. Amazing event, amazing talks to talk about the stuff about cities that I stopped talking about a few years ago when I decided to go through a different path of urbanism. I was born in Venezuela and I studied urbanism in an urbanism school, which is very weird to find. And Barcelona was always a reference of the city, of the model of the city that an urbanist should follow in order to design a city. The funny thing is that Barcelona wasn't planned by an urbanist or an architect, it was an engineer. And the other funny thing is actually it didn't follow just one exact plan from the 19th century until today. So there are different forces that have been building the city during these years. Those forces are the ones that I'm interested in understanding which are the things that construct the cities beyond the physical space, beyond of thinking about how the traffic could go moving forward, but actually those socio-economical forces that are actually fundamental for the city to function. And then I started to see cities as octopuses. Basically because when you think about the limits of a city like Barcelona, you cannot just put it in where are the highways or where are a certain type of density of population, but actually the resources that this city needs to function comes from very far away. Those resources are encapsulating the products that we're carrying with us, that come from a really high social consequences in places that we don't see. So we externalize the consequences, especially the social and environmental. So you don't see that when you buy any of your electronics, or any of your appliances, even your clothes or anything. So these products, they travel thousands of kilometers to get into your house, to get into your stores. From the stuff that you use to work, to learn, to the stuff you eat. In a recent trip to Indonesia, I found that this poor banana traveled 10,000 kilometers to be put in a plastic bag, which is quite, you put a banana in a plastic bag to be sold is quite, I think, stupid somehow. But the thing is that products come to our cities, they are packed and stored in supermarkets. You have to choose. Probably before going to the supermarket, you go to a work that you probably hate. But before going to the work that you hate, you probably had to study something that you didn't like. And then you are probably placed in little boxes where you live in a city. So we have standardized the way of living based on our production model. So, and this is only a couple hundred years old. So we have turned cities into machines, linear machines that produce trash, that import products and produce trash, and that's a consequence that actually goes back to us. When we put trash in the environment, actually we put some kind of, when we took antidepressant medicine, and it goes into our sewage, when we eat the fish, we eat them again, and so on. Same with drugs. So this is augmenting year by year, and the forecast is very bad if we keep going as we are going, based on a very old model, and going in an infinite loop on not satisfying our needs, but actually satisfying our desires. And this is a science invented 100 years ago, coming from the Freudian school of psychoanalysis. So, and then there's the other form, which is profit on top of whatever consequence we are generating. And again, consequences that most of the times we don't see. They are far away, thousands of kilometers away, where those products come from. So basically, this is a cycle of materials now on Earth. We extract raw materials, we put it in shipping containers using fossil fuels, they go to production centers, they turn into products, they fly back to our cities, we turn them into trash. Trash go away again somewhere else that we don't see it, right? But the truth is this model is around 200 years old. These technologies that many of the people have mentioned before, digital technologies, are not even a century old, just a few decades. And they're literally changing our life. No? This is a picture you have already seen, but actually changing what is the conception of our life in this world, which is not, probably at some point will stop being digital or physical, but it will be only one world in which both flow continuously, right? And it has an effect on cities, of course, and this is what is inspiring the definition of smart cities, which I'm not going to attack again. I think it's already in the floor. It's like doing it like this, kicking it to the floor, but yes, it's promoted by corporations trying to sell products and governments trying to have control over population. Actually, this is an IBM project in Rio de Janeiro, winner of the Smart City Best Project in 2013. And of course, this reminds of 1984 image, no? You know, the big brother that watch everyone. And then, coming from that, what about the smart citizens? Right? What is the definition of a smart citizen? Now coming with all this, you know, adoption of technologies for everything that we do in our life today. For sure it's not this, and I'm repeating your image as well, Ethel. This is for me not a smart citizen. This is the stupidest citizen in the world. This is a different type of big brother, and this is a different type of technology dependence. This is a smart citizen. This is a smart citizen activities. These are smart citizens. These are fundamental. These are values that you can find in these places which are based in open networks, open hardware, open data, that actually are the same values that you could find in the whole catalog wrote by Stuart Brand and friends in the 60s, which actually, they're pretty similar to something that we call Fab Labs, which are fabrication laboratories. A project that started out of the Center for Bits and Atoms at MIT 15 years ago, and now it became a global network of workshops in which people can have free and open access to digital fabrication tools to turn bits into atoms and atoms into bits with no need of previous studies as of a PhD or a master's degree. So accessible technology, enabling technology, empowering technologies for people to turn digital information into physical information that can transform their reality. So apart from the technology that is happening in all these, that you can find in all of these labs in the world today, around 1,000 already, is knowledge that is being generated. This is the Fab Academy course is the largest university you can find today, or the campus is the world. The classrooms are Fab Labs. This is not distance education, this is distributed education. This is the machines that make machine program. If you can make almost anything in a Fab Lab, then you can make the tools that make almost anything in a Fab Lab, so the Fab Labs can replicate themselves. And then you can also look at the future of fabrication that is directly connected with synthetic biology and the ability of not making things, but actually to grow things, to be the farmer of the things that you need in order to live every day and have a closed loop of materials. And the very fundamental level, we're changing the way we make everything, basically, as we have done it with the digital technologies based on computation. So how do you fall in love? Probably you will fall in love by making something with someone. And probably also by how you die. You probably have to design your own coffin, you leave it, you make it in an open source way, based on the design of someone else, you make it in your Fab Lab, and you flat pack it in your closet, and then you leave a note for someone to take it when you die. And then to actually how we measure things in the cities, from the smart city approach in which the city council puts sensors to develop low-cost sensors that people can put by themselves and share the data in an open way. This is a project we started at IAAC, by the way, a few years ago. The way you relate with food by using open source aquaponic systems. Actually, this is going to be soon in Kickstarter. The way a restaurant is being made. This is a restaurant in which the furniture didn't have to travel thousands of kilometers. The furniture traveled 2 blocks away. We made it in the Fab Lab. We took it by hand to the restaurant, and actually you can download the furniture, even the menu, and everything in the restaurant is open source and 0 kilometer. So also to the way we imagine a public service. In this case, we have created together with the City Council of Barcelona a public network of Fab Labs, which is a new public service that doesn't exist in any city in the world. It's like a kind of a library on steroids, in which you don't only have access to computers and books, but actually you can turn the information that you find in those computers into things and learn how to make things. It's like a first, like an entry level by citizens to digital fabrication and new technologies. So this leads to the Barcelona Fab City initiative. 2 years ago, we launched a challenge for mayors in the world to commit publicly to turn their cities into locally productive and globally connected cities by 2054. So we put a 40-year plan in which cities had to be at least 50% locally productive in terms of energy, food, and goods. What is funny is that the mayor, this is not the mayor anymore. We have a new mayor in Barcelona. It's good that we keep going with the project of public Fab Labs, but actually other mayors, of course, wanted to copy Barcelona, and they did. So we have the mayor of Boston and the deputy mayor of Amsterdam committing publicly and officially for both cities to become Fab cities by 2054, but also Paris this summer, Santiago de Chile, Amsterdam City, as I said, Shenzhen, which is the factory of the world, the Kingdom of Bhutan. We have a kingdom in our network. Who has a kingdom in their networks that measures happiness as an index? Detroit, which is the icon of the assembly line, where the 4T model was assembled for the first time, and probably the icon also of the decadence of our economy, a city that bankrupted a few years ago, now reinventing their economy through local production. And this is a letter from the mayor. I'm saying this because behind all of these slides, there are public commitments, official commitment by mayors and public authorities, and a local network of makers and Fab Labs to make this happen. So this is the Fab City network today. We have 12 cities, 2 countries, and 2 regions. And it's quite active, some monthly meetings by the team. Last year there were 9 cities. This year we have almost doubled. And we're going to keep the pace in the coming years since we opened the opportunity for new Fab cities to join only once a year. But what to do after the nice picture of a mayor saying, I'm really innovative, I'm now a major maker, no? So now we're stressing the point in which we have to put down this kind of more political approach to this project into more operational. So the first thing is actually what we introduced to cities is to rethink about the manufacturing and complementary ecosystem that should exist in a city. The network of networks of not only manufacturing but production capabilities that could happen in a city. From the scale of the home, meaning that you can grow things with your IKEA hydroponic system that was shown before. You can have your small 3D printer that you can also use in your house, but then you can go to your Fab Lab in your neighborhood, but then you can go to a flexible factory at the scale of the city. And there probably you have to make some stuff in China for sure. And then we need to try to understand which is the parallelism in terms of time that we're talking about. No? I wanted to make this point because I'm going to show you how we think to make this, but it would look like something like this. You will say, no, this is really big and it doesn't have a touch screen and so on. But actually, this actually is my age, this phone. And today, we're almost embedding a phone in our own bodies. We're close to that, probably in a couple of years we will do it. So this is the kind of Motorola phones today, open source technologies that people is sharing to do electronics projects, things that you can find in a Fab Lab, recycling plastic stations and so on. And the type of projects that are coming out of these places. Urban farming kits, a shower loop is one of my favorite projects. I always like to take long showers and don't feel bad about it. So shower loop reduces the consumption of water by recycling the water in your shower by 80%. By filters of water, aquaponic systems, energy generation, synthetic meat, so we don't have to slaughter cows and also occupy a lot of the forest to eat meat. So you can keep eating burgers by having synthetic meat. So these are the Motorolas of today. But it's not enough. It's also important to define a space in the city in which we can test and prototype these technologies, these networks. And it's something that we're starting to do in the Poblenou neighborhood here in Barcelona, which is actually a former industrial area that has been taken away. Then the 22-watt plant came like a very top-down approach. It didn't work, and thanks to that, now there is coming like an emerging community of creative spaces and local maker spaces happening in Poblenou, and it's where the super area is happening also. And we made small demonstrations about it. So this is really like the picture that we're imagining in the future is actually you don't need to move atoms into the planet, you just need to move data. Fabrication happens locally, production happens locally, whatever we send in and out between cities is information. Relying on a local infrastructure that is not only Fab Labs again, it's actually a complementary ecosystem for local production. So someone had to show this graph. Nobody did. It's like one of the first conferences I haven't seen this graph. But it's a fact that we are moving to a distributed world. And I think that it's also important to mention the emerging technologies, especially the blockchain, that can allow for anyone to be their own government, potentially, or to be your own bank. So if we have this, initially cities were known as the places in which you were going to a bank, you were going to have access to things, you were going to have access to the government, to do something in the government. But if you are your own bank, you are your own government. So what is the meaning of these many cities that we want to put names into? So I think that with this, our future is to have as many cities as we want. And with that, I think that I saved 4 minutes, 40 seconds for the rest of the people. Thank you.